Today we're looking at three of my favorite models from this year, and they are tuned vehicles. So these are actually designed to look like what kids would draw back in the day when they would make a tuned vehicle. And this means that effectively your wheels would be massive, flared out. I'll put an example on screen, and I think they're absolutely sensational. So all of these are just great. They were incredible to 3D print and put together. Links to the original designer and the models, which are all free if you want to give this a go yourself. So I had an absolute blast with these, and they were so nice to make. So you'll find those links in the description below. So the best one I think was the Lambo. I just was taken aback by how easy it printed, how much fun it was to then create it and put it together. And I even did some painting up. I didn't necessarily have to do these parts here. You can actually print them off as separate lights, paint them up separately. But I decided to use the actual holes for those bits to paint and loved it. Also, although it does seem like quite a lot of bits, it's all very easy to print. The assembly is incredibly easy as well. And overall, it's just great. And I managed to avoid a lot of painting here because I just printed stuff off like the body in a bright color and then the rims and the tires in different colors. So I don't have to paint them separately if I didn't want to. So yeah, I think this is wonderful. And in this video, we'll just quickly go over all three models and what you can expect if you decide to use these yourself. So the Lambo you see me assembling here, I think it was the best. Super simple to assemble everything. Tolerances were very, very good and overall had no issues with anything at all. And because, of course, I could do most of this with just colored filament, I had very little painting done with this. And as you can see, it's got separate windows, so even if you did decide to paint the body, you got the ability to have it be very clean once you put it all together, without having to worry about overspray or anything like that. And the final result is, I think, absolutely gorgeous. And until you put the wheels on, it actually looks quite normal, maybe a little bit squished, but that's about it. It's not until you're actually putting the wheels on where suddenly this thing ends up becoming that tuned appearance that you see in the cartoons that kids used to do back in the day. So yeah, we'll get this assembled and we'll move on to the next one, which is going to be our Cybertruck. I'm assuming that'll be a very controversial one for sure, and I think somehow it works out incredibly well in its tuned variant, because the real thing looks ugly in person, but the tuned version looks incredible. But anyway, back to the Lambo. As you can see here, I went with a controversial choice of going with grey wheels. I really wasn't sure if it was going to work, because I thought, is that actually going to look terrible? But once you put it together, I was really surprised by how good the grey wheels actually worked on this. And just for some reason, give it a bit more of a sporty look. So that is the Lambo done. We'll now move on to the second model. Next up, we've got our Cybertruck before we move on to our Porsche. Now, this one I did have issues with. It has some tiny, tiny pieces like the light bar on the front and the back, which I just could not get to print successfully. And as a result, I decided to paint it, which I think was a better outcome at the end of the day. But this one does have some more complexities to it that are not as easy as the Lamborghini that we just did. So, touch more difficulty here. But the final piece, if you get it all printed out, it looks exceptional. It really looks absolutely amazing because there's so many flat edges. So it's very easy to work with, no real complexities. And I did have to trim up the windows and stuff a little bit just to get them to fit in properly. But it was minor stuff overall. It even comes with a separate base, which is a little bit different from the Lambo. This means you can have, again, the paint job done and then put everything together without having to worry about getting contamination off the paint, because those, bottom bit in a Cybertruck should be black, as the mud guards there are also black. And talking about the mud guards, in this they're all unique, so you have to make sure you get the right one in the right place, which I did mess up and ended up with a little bit of the glue getting under the paint job, which just made it look more authentic actually, because it ended up with that smudgy appearance that the Cybertruck has in real life. But you can see here how all this just went together beautifully, and you do get the cartoony effect right off the bat with this one, even without the wheels, because it's got such a long shape in real life, but then you've got such a squished down version of it here. You can tell it's definitely a cartooned version, but it just looks great. Even the windows here have little bits that you can paint silver to match the supports of the real thing. So yeah, very freaking cool. And as you can see, this is the pretty much finished product as we put this last window on. And we end up with, I think, an absolutely exceptional little Cybertruck. And it may be hated in real life, but this cartoon version looks great. There's also a rear cover you can print off separately to actually put the bed on there. But of course, I think it would just end up looking like it's some sort of window. So I decided not to go with that. And I think the lines for the front and back lights make this just somehow exceptionally cool, and I'm extremely happy with it. Now let's move on to our final model, and this is the Porsche. This one was by far the most complicated. It has way more parts, way more annoying little parts in a couple of places, as well as the wing mirrors are separate, but you could skip them if you don't want to do them. So it's not a massive inconvenience. And this one was a touch harder to print. That rear bumper you can see doesn't quite print out beautifully. You need a bit of support there, where the rest of them are all set up to be supportless. This one wasn't quite as good for that. But still, this ended up looking great. And although it's not my favorite out of the three, I think it's probably Lambo, Tesla truck, and then the Porsche. The Porsche here still has a uniqueness which is excellent. I also recommend these as gifts as well. So if someone's got one of these matching vehicles, I think printing one of these off, giving it a little paint job and giving it to them is well worth it. It is an excellent little gift for each one. So here's our tiny little wing mirrors that you can put on the Porsche as well. I feel like I should have not done it, but I ended up putting them on. And as a result, I'm pretty damn sure they're going to get broken off someday. It's the only bit I recommend skipping when it comes to these 3D models. There's no need to have these wing mirrors attached. But of course, if you want to, you totally can. But let's take a look at all three of these, and you can of course scale them up or whatever you would like if you decide to print these yourself. But you can see they are cool. I love the style. Haven't really seen anything like it in 3D kind of form before, so extremely happy with it. And they're all free, which is great. You're going to have a go at printing them yourself. And yeah, superb. Lambo's my favorite, followed by the Cybertruck, then followed by the Porsche. But you guys can let me know what you think is your favorite in the comments below, and I'll catch you in the next video. Make sure you're subscribed and like, and I will be back with more awesome 3D prints that you can try at home. And thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you next time.